The hardest part about planning a wedding so far, choosing the people. That has resulted in some situations like this.
I never would have expected this person to not come. I just don't want anyone else to feel like I inconvenienced her.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Wedding Diaries. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all the ways I picked all of the people that I want to be a part of my big day. From my wedding planner to my bridesmaids, Kevin's groomsmen, our guest list, giving you the tea on what's been going on, but also hopefully this will be helpful if you are planning a wedding or looking to plan one in the future. Number 1, let's talk about the wedding planner. Should you get a wedding planner or should you not? If you're somebody with a very busy schedule and your budget allows, I 100% would recommend getting a wedding planner of some sort because they take a lot of things off of your plate. Most of us, when we're wedding planning, you still have your full set of responsibilities at work. Maybe you have, animals or children, and there's just so many other things going on that wedding planning becomes this extra added responsibility that requires an intensive amount of planning for. So it's really, really helpful to have somebody who is an expert in the field, who has already planned lots of weddings, who first of all just knows a lot of details that I would never even begin to think of, but second of all has the time, energy, and is hired to create and craft this beautiful experience for you. One of the challenges we had was deciding whether or not to find the venue first or the wedding planner first, because it's kind of a chicken and egg situation, right? You want to find a wedding planner who is going to be familiar with the area that you're looking. On one hand, it makes sense to find the venue first because then you can find a wedding planner who's already familiar with that venue. And on the other hand, it makes sense to find the wedding planner first so that they can help you find a venue. This can be a little bit more challenging if you are somebody who's looking at multiple different places, multiple different venues, all across the world or all across the country. Our options are pretty open because no matter where we had the wedding, it was going to be destination for most folks because our friends and family are all over the place. And so we ended up actually going the route of finding the venue first, and our venue recommended some planners that they had worked with before or that they highly recommended, and we actually did end up going with one of the ones that they recommended. I think it really is up to personal circumstances. Some people will find their venue first and others will find their wedding planner first. If you're wondering the rough price range for a wedding planner, it really depends what kind of planner you're getting. There's 3 major types. There is a full service planner, a partial planner, and then a day of coordinator. And let me walk you through each one. A full service wedding planner, these on average I would say is somewhere between $5,000 and $20,000. I know that sounds crazy. I've even gotten some quotes that were $30,000, $40,000. Full service planner starts from day 1. They help you with literally almost everything. They help you pick out your vendors, they help you book your vendors, they help you with the day of coordination. They usually bring a team, whoever it is, to help support and do things like help move items or help direct people, and they are just your go-to point people for anything and everything wedding related. They take charge of a lot of stuff, which makes things a lot easier for bride and groom. Number 2 is a partial planner. This is somebody who helps you with some things, but not all things. Budget for this usually on the low end, $3,000 to $4,000, all the way up to $10,000. And this is really great for somebody if you already kind of know the vibes of the wedding that you want. Maybe you already have a venue, maybe you already have some vendors picked out. So if you're somebody who wants to be really, really, really involved in the planning process, but you still need some support, then a partial planner is definitely the one for you. This usually starts about 6 to 9 months before the wedding. And then finally, you have a day of coordinator, which is kind of a weird name because usually day of coordinators are more like month of coordinators. So they will hop on usually about a month before your wedding starts, and they will help you finalize the timeline. They'll usually help you run your rehearsal dinner. They'll confirm your vendors and just make sure everything is ready for day of. This is definitely not for the faint of heart. If you are ready to be full on involved in planning almost every aspect of your wedding, then this option is for you. I personally would not recommend not having any sort of planner because there are so many things going on the day of the wedding. The last thing you want is for people to be texting you like, hey, where's this? Where's that? Now, we ended up deciding to go for a full service planner because we are both really busy and it's something that we had budgeted for. We had spoken to a lot of friends who have already had weddings in the past, and they all told us if you're gonna skimp on something, let it be alcohol or let it be whatever. But the one thing they said not to skimp on is a wedding planner, and so we didn't. And my big tips on choosing a wedding planner are as follows, okay? Number 1, you want to stalk their portfolio and see if you like their work and weddings that they've planned. Obviously, everybody has a different aesthetic, but are the vibes kind of what what you're going for. Number 2, ask about their communication style. How do they usually meet with their clients? Do they do Zoom? Do they do text? Is it email only? You have to find someone who is compatible with your style of communication. I am somebody who's really on top of it, and I respond to stuff very quickly. So for me, I was really looking for someone who is similarly on top of it, very responsive. And I know some people are like strict email only. I wanted somebody who I would be able to text because it's easier to just send pictures and just get things done kind of throughout your day. Our wedding planner is really amazing. I meet with her on Google Hangouts once a month. And then in addition to that, she'll also text us or email us as needed. And as we get close to the wedding, there's kind of more things to do. And so we'll probably make those calls more frequent. But she does not have a cap on like, oh, this is the number of times that I can contact them, blah. You also really want to make sure that you like them. I would not recommend booking a wedding planner without speaking to them first and just making sure that you vibe with them and you're on the same wavelength. There were definitely a couple of wedding planners that I talked to where it was like, ooh, immediately off the bat, like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work. We have very different working styles or just different vibes. It's also really helpful to tell them your budget while you are hunting for a wedding planner, because there are planners that are only familiar with planning luxury weddings, or they're only familiar with planning a certain type of wedding, and you just want to make sure that they're able to bring your vision to life within your budget. I was really honest with my budget and I was like, hey, look, this is roughly the number that we're looking at. And there were some wedding planners that I talked to where they were like, the minimum budget that I work with is in the 6-figure range. This is it. And I was like, okay, well, that's really good to know. And then finally, it's helpful to have a wedding planner who's very well connected and has a lot of vendor connections in the area that you are having your wedding. So for example, if you're having a SoCal wedding, then it's helpful to look at their Instagram, see which vendors they've already worked with. Are they people that you would want to work with? That's a great way to kind of eliminate people as well. When I was hunting down a wedding planner, there was somebody who I really wanted to book with, but she would tell me that, oh, by Monday, I'll send you XYZ, and Monday would come and she still hadn't sent it. And that was a big red flag for me. So I ended up going with someone who, by the way, is amazing, but she's super responsive. She's super on top of it. And we just match and vibe really well. Okay, next let's talk about bridesmaids, which first of all, you don't even have to do bridesmaids if you don't want to. For those who don't know, bridesmaids are kind of your girl tribe that you have with you on your wedding day and kind of an entire wedding planning process. So traditional bridesmaids responsibilities include obviously supporting you on the day of the wedding and attending the rehearsal dinner. But in addition to that, they may also be responsible for planning things like a bridal shower, a bachelorette, or they may support you through things like wedding dress shopping, giving you opinions, food tasting. And traditionally amongst bridesmaids, brides will often choose a maid of honor, or a matron of honor. And the maid of honor is essentially one person, or sometimes it's 2 people. You can have code maid of honors that the bride picks out. And these are usually kind of like the closest, bestest friend or sibling, but it can also just be somebody who logistically is more talented in planning stuff. It could be somebody who has more time to support you in your wedding. It doesn't always have to mean something like so serious. Now, I personally decided not to pick a maid of honor. First of all, each of my friends has supported me in such different ways, in such different time points in my life. It really is hard for me to pick like one person to put in charge. I also didn't want to burden one person with having to do like the majority of stuff. And so I opted not to go for the maid of honor route. Each of my friends are also just very equally important to me in different ways that I really can't even verbalize to you guys. But sometimes when you don't pick a maid of honor, what happens is nobody knows what kind of responsibilities they have, if there are any to give. And so I actually just delegated some things that the girls were willing to take on. So I have 4 bridesmaids. One of them is helping me with my wedding makeup. 2 of them are helping me with the bachelorette itinerary. We're actually going abroad. We're going to 2 different countries. And so one girl each is planning each of the 2 countries. And then finally, my last bridesmaid is on food duty to plan a fun food itinerary for the bachelorette. So everyone kind of has their own responsibilities, and obviously everybody will be there to support me on wedding day, which is so fun. I'm really looking forward to my bachelorette and also just getting to be able to get ready with all the girls. The vibes are gonna be really good. I would say when it comes to bridesmaids, less is more. I've seen weddings where people have so many bridesmaids, and I've also personally spoken to friends who have chosen to do things like that and said they really regretted it and wish they chose a smaller crew. You are also totally allowed to make your own rules. You don't have to have a maid of honor. You don't have to have bridesmaids. You can choose to get ready with them without calling them bridesmaids. You can have them in their own clothing that they enjoy. If you're planning a wedding, then you should be able to choose whatever you'd like. For me personally, I will have all of my girls. Initially, we were thinking mismatched dresses, but we all kind of decided it would probably look more cohesive. And so everyone is wearing the same dress and they will all be in pink, which I'm really excited for. It's a really pretty kind of blush pink color. I'm so thankful to have their support. And so I really am trying to do everything in my power to make things as easy as possible for my bridesmaids. They obviously will be there for my rehearsal dinner, which is the night before, and then for the farewell the day after. And so it is just like a huge commitment to support someone through their wedding, right? So we are making sure that we are covering accommodations for them, and I'm providing the dress, the shoes, the accessories, everything that we can do, we will do to kind of make their lives a little easier. Now, bridesmaids proposal and asking your girls to be your bridesmaids if you choose to do this. This, I think, arguably was one of my favorite days I had ever had in this lifetime. It was so special because my 4 girls had never been in the same place at one time. One of them lives in Seattle, one of them lives in the Bay, and the other one was in Portland. So they were kind of all over the place. I was not expecting to do my bridesmaids proposal in person at all. I was just gonna mail each of them their boxes, but they all wanted to come together for me, which I was just over the moon for. So they actually all flew into LA, and that's when some of them met for the first time, which was really cool. And I got to propose to them in real life. I had so much fun putting together a bridesmaids proposal box. I didn't want to give them anything that said like bride or bridesmaids because it's not really something that you can use normally. So I opted for items that they could use even in their day-to-day life with or without association to my wedding. So one thing I gifted each of them was the SK2 set, which you guys know the Essence is my absolute favorite. Who doesn't like skincare, right? I also gifted them a vanity pouch, which they can use while we're traveling, some makeup, a Prada lippy. I think all really practical things, and I hand wrote each of them a note telling them why they were special to me, and thankfully they all said yes. Now, if you're wondering how Kevin asked his groomsmen, that was a very different conversation. Some of them he asked like IRL, some of them he just texted, some of them he called. Dudes are pretty chill, and I think they were all on board and really excited to be his groomsmen, even without the crazy proposal. When we did my bridesmaids proposal, we also voted and chose our bachelorette destinations, which was so exciting.
So our options are Taiwan, Japan, or Korea. We're gonna have everyone vote. This is my 2024 election. Don't go away. It's in. Oh my god. Damn Korea. We have with a question mark. Taiwan with a question mark. I'm nervous. Yeah, I'm nervous too. Taiwan. And finally, Taiwan. Okay, so we couldn't decide, so we're gonna do.
So yeah, we'll actually be going to Taiwan and Korea in June, which is super exciting. I'm really excited to take all my girls to Taiwan because it's really like the one opportunity in my life where I can force everyone to come with me and I can show them a really good time in a country that I love. And then we kind of extended the trip into a girls trip to Korea. More on the Bachelorette soon. Let me know if you guys want long form vlogs or short form vlogs. Finally, the guest list. How do you even put together a guest list? I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, okay? So the first thing you need to consider is whether or not your venue has constraints. And again, kind of chicken and egg situation. Do you decide how many guests you're inviting and then find a venue, or find a venue and then choose a number of guests? We've had this notes app list for years and years, but it's always been like people that we wanted to invite to the wedding. We wanted to have a more intimate wedding because I want to be able to spend time with every single person who shows up. Sometimes you go to a big wedding and you rarely get to spend time with bride and groom, maybe you say a couple of sentences to them, and I really did not want that for my wedding. I wanted to be able to spend time with everybody that I loved and cared about. So this list was always curated based on that. Obviously, there can be a lot of opinions when it comes to a wedding, and sometimes there are people that you have to invite because you invite XYZ person or this family, this extended family member, blah, blah, blah. It can get really, really tricky, and it's just a conversation that everybody needs to sit down and have together. There's also situations where if you invite X person, then you probably shouldn't invite Y person. It can just be kind of sticky, but I will say Kevin and I have been pretty blessed. Overall, everything has been relatively easy to navigate. The hard part for us was knowing how many people would actually show up to the wedding, because we had no idea whether the RSVP rate would be 50% or 100%. So what you can do with your guest list, if you don't know what the RSVP rate is to actually send your guest invites out as tiers. You can assign your guests into different groups, so like group 1, group 2, group 3, and if space allows, then you can allow invitations into the following groups. We were honestly shocked by our RSVP rate. Aside from a couple of invitations that we sent out knowing that they couldn't come, we still sent the invitation because we wanted them to know that they're important to us. We only received 2 no's, which honestly, I don't know how many I was expecting. I think I just didn't have any expectations whatsoever, because for most of the guests, they do have to travel, they have to take a weekend, and we totally understand that. Another thing to consider is that when you are in this kind of late 20s, early 30s era, your friends are having so many weddings back to back to back to back that it can feel like a lot. And also it can be very expensive and costly to attend weddings, to give wedding gifts, etc. And that's all stuff that we had considered and knew that we couldn't expect everybody to show up. But I would definitely expect to have a higher RSVP rate than maybe you have in your head, because that's what happened for us. In terms of how we're tracking RSVPs and logistics, we are using a website called With Joy, which our wedding planner kind of inputted everything into, and we just okayed. I'm gonna preface and say that there will probably be some people who RSVP no that you absolutely never in a million years thought they would RSVP no, and it may send you into a spiral. I'm gonna roll the clip. A lot of people warned me that when you are wedding planning, you will be more sensitive than usual. We currently have a 100% RSVP rate, which is surprising and also not surprising because it's very intimate, and so everyone who is invited is very close to us. But I just got my first actual...
What are you doing?
Would you like me to share this news with you?
Why is this so serious?
There's actually somebody who just told me that they can't come, that I never in a million years expected to not come. It feels like so silly because people have lives and people are busy and they have things that they have to do, but
this is your important day.
I understand that people are busy. It's not even that, I don't think. I think it's just...
You'd never imagine your wedding without him?
No, I think it's just maybe I would feel this way about other people too. I think just wedding planning makes you really sensitive sometimes, and we've been really fortunate. Everyone has
Decided to come.
carved out time in their busy schedules to come to our wedding, and I just don't want anyone else to feel inconvenienced or...
No, people are very excited to come. It's your day.
I'm really trying to make sure there are some people who their plus ones can't make it, and so I'm okay, don't worry, this person will be able to take you so you don't have to be alone, or they're also
It's
in this
okay.
profession so you guys can hang out, or
They
this
will
is the
have-
person, these are the people you know, don't worry, I'll see you with them.
Yes, there are
I just
people.
want everyone to have a good
Yes.
time.
We will make a spreadsheet and everyone have a good time, okay? Don't know who will be there. I will be there. You can't hang out with me at the wedding.
Looking at that footage is honestly, I feel embarrassed even looking at that footage. Sometimes it can feel really personal. I'm somebody who never wants to inconvenience anybody. I know it's a big ask to ask people to come to celebrate us. Sometimes there's financial concerns, family concerns. There's so many things at stake that it's almost never personal. Even knowing that, I still felt just very sad and disappointed. Not from a place of being oh, why can't you come to my wedding? But just, I will miss you and miss having your presence at my wedding because I never imagined my wedding without you. I think that's okay. You need to brace yourself for disappointment. It's okay to feel that way. I also did have a conversation with the person and just said look, of course we would love to have you there, but we totally understand no matter what you decide. With the guest list, there's also a lot of kind of obligations involved sometimes, where maybe they invited you to their wedding and then you feel obligated that you have to also invite them to yours, but maybe your wedding is a lot more intimate than theirs was, or vice versa. Just know that no matter what, you will still have a great time. You will still be surrounded by people you love. And at the end of the day, there's nothing more important than that. In terms of plus ones, this is sometimes where it can get a little sticky. And, you know, some people have hard and fast rules where if you've been dating for less than 1 year, then you don't get a plus one. Or if you are not married, you don't get a plus one, blah, 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 blah. We found it really hard to make like specific rules. We just looked at every situation and kind of assessed them on their own. For example, if you already know other people at the wedding and you don't have a significant other, then we did not give them a plus one because they already have a friend group at the wedding or have met other people at the wedding. We were told that if you are married, you have to give them a plus one, which I didn't know that before wedding planning. So maybe you're like me and you had no idea. But if they're married, you have to give them a plus one. We pretty much gave everybody who's in a relationship a plus one because we don't really have any friends with rush relationships really. So that wasn't quite an issue for us. But we also didn't want people to travel alone, especially if they don't already know somebody else at the wedding, if that makes sense. There was one situation where we didn't give somebody a plus one because they are in a big group of friends and they ended up asking for a plus one because they have been in a committed relationship that we just had no idea about. And so after talking to them, we did give them a plus one. And because with our venue, we did have some flexibility, it wasn't the hardest thing for us to manage. They usually say around 60 to 70 is when you can kind of talk to everybody at your wedding. 100 is kind of getting a little bit more like a sparser conversation. And then above 100 is when you are spending very little time with each person. And so that's definitely something to keep in mind. So that's all the people who are kind of involved in our wedding. If you have any additional questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below and maybe I'll go through and answer some. And also let me know what you want to see in these subsequent episodes. We have a lot of exciting things, like we did our food tasting, more dresses, the whole dress. We have multiple outfit changes. We have bachelorette, bachelor's party. So let us know what you want to see most and we'll make sure that it's on the channel. I hope you found this episode helpful or entertaining or one of the two, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
I know sometimes life can be tough, and you feel like you just